Welcome to Dark Horizon Creations. I'm Mike, and today we are looking at the World of Halo Series 1 Brute Captain with Mangler. Now, if you hadn't already, please follow, like, and subscribe to our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. We're up to over 260 subscribers on YouTube and counting. Don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get a notification of when I post new content. So this particular figure was extremely difficult to find in the wild. I know that oftentimes when I would do an internet search for this character, I would see that they were going for 3 and 4 times the MSRP on the secondary market with third-party sellers on Amazon and eBay. I found this at an area Walmart, and I've had it boxed away for some time and decided to pull it out and review this figure for you guys. So the Brute Captain, of course, is a character within the Halo Infinite gameplay, but he is more importantly a part of the Banished. Now, if you don't know anything about the primary antagonist in Infinite, the Banished were first revealed during Halo Wars 2, and they are a splinter group of the Covenant. They are a mercenary organization that was formed by prominent Jiralhanae leaders like Atriox, Decimus, and others, who essentially became fed up with being used by the elites as cannon fodder. You know, the Brutes are the muscle of the Covenant, particularly their ground forces. They were always sent in first to overrun opposition like human forces, UNSC outposts, and things like that. And to, essentially just wipe out every human they came across and secure whatever the target was, and then the elites would come in along with grunts and establish their bases or checkpoints or whatever they set up so that they could begin scouring the planet for Forerunner artifacts. So Atriox and Decimus and their organization broke off from the Covenant late in the Human Covenant War, and essentially began conducting hit-and-run raids against Covenant fleets, against outposts and things like that, but they soon grew in numbers. And they became so great of a threat that during the latter years of the war, the Covenant was fighting on 2 fronts. They were fighting the Banished and they were fighting humanity, and they lost against both. The Covenant, of course, fractured, it splintered, and unfortunately the Banished remained, and we're going to see just what kind of threat they present to humanity when Halo Infinite is released. So the Brute Captain, you can see, is heavily armed. He includes a Mangler, and like all the Series 1 figures, they include a code card for the game. I presume that card correlates to the character that it's included with. I could be mistaken, but that's my thinking. It could be to unlock a skin, like the character is wearing the armor, a particular type of Mangler. I just don't know. On the back of the packaging, your Halo logo for Series 1 and a picture of the Master Chief. And that's essentially it. I'm going to pause the video, remove the figure from the packaging, and we'll come back and check him out. All right, we're back with the World of Halo Series 1 Brute Captain. And as you can see, this is a really cool looking action figure. In my opinion, this is the best figure in Series 1, hands down. Before we get into the review, let's talk about scale. How tall is this action figure? If I bring out a ruler and measure in inches, he is just at 5 3/4 of an inch tall to the top of his armor. If you remove his helmet, he's 5 1/2 inches tall. In centimeters, that is 14 1/2 centimeters. For comparison, I'll bring out the Series 1 Master Chief figure that was included with the UNSC Warthog, and you can see how they compare and contrast to each other. Really, really nice looking figures. Of course, I've repainted and weathered this one. I like the display pads. I like the fact that you can snap them together to create dioramas and battle scenes and things like that. The other cool thing about this, it really reminds me of the miniature RPG games, you know, where you've got figures on display basis. That would be something really neat to incorporate with these guys. I don't know if any of you remember this, but years ago there was a Halo board game that was released. It was an interactive strategy game. It had physical pieces that you built the map with, and there were different maps that you could build, and it had an interactive video, and the characters were little plastic figures like that on a display. They were supposed to have expansions and everything where you could buy expansion kits for it. Ultimately, it was canceled before they ever got to that, but it was a really, really awesome game. One of the most sought after Halo collectibles out there. And, you know, something like that to incorporate with the World of Halo scale, that would be really cool. So there's your comparison with Master Chief. Darn it. Should have known something stupid was going to happen. All right, we're back with the World of Halo Series 1 Brute Captain. And this is a really awesome action figure. You can see out of the packaging how cool he looks. In my personal opinion, this is the best figure out of Series 1, hands down. He really is. Now, before we get into the review, let's talk about scale. Let's talk about height. How tall is this guy? In inches, he stands 5 3/4 inches tall with his helmet on. With it off, he's at 5 1/2 inches tall. In centimeters, has 14 1/2 centimeters. Now, for comparison, let's bring out the Master Chief. This is the World of Halo Series 1 Master Chief that is included with the UNSC Warthog. And you can see I've repainted this figure and weathered it. And they look really good together. I like the display bases. That's one of my favorite aspects of these figures. You know, they have the ability to snap together to create dioramas with the figures. And it really reminds me of the miniature RPG games, you know, where you've got the characters on a display base. I don't know if many of you remember this, but years ago there was a Halo interactive board game. And it had physical pieces that you built each of the maps with, and it had an interactive video that went along with the game to play it out. Really, really awesome concept. And they had expansion kits planned that you would buy, you know, at different intervals to expand the map and recreate different battles and things like that. Ultimately, it was canceled before any of the expansion kits were created. So it was just, you know, the primary board game, the base kit, and that's become one of the most sought after Halo collectibles out there. And this really reminds me of that. That would be cool to see something like that, some sort of role-playing aspect integrated with these World of Halo scale figures. All the way around, this is a really, really nicely designed figure. You can see that the armor segments are separate from the actual figure. They're not molded in. And that's one of the really great things about the Mattel Halo figures that I like. The armor segments would snap on and snap off, and that's what this reminds me of. Really, really cool looking figure. And if you remove his helmet, you can see his head sculpt. A lot of nice detailing in there. A lot of nice paint apps as well. You know, they've done a lot of shading there with that. Really, really cool. Let's talk about articulation. His head's on a nice tight ball joint. His torso's on a nice tight ball joint. Forward and lateral movement there at the shoulder. Double jointed elbow. Rotate at the elbow there. Wrist rotation. And his wrist will turn in and out, but it's very limited because of the armor. Forward and lateral movement there at the thigh rotation, double jointed knees. Of course, their feet are on a ball joint. A really, really nice figure. I really like the way that he looks. I think they did a really good job with this. And the armor segments on the back will come out. They won't stay in place, so if you want them to stay in place, I would recommend gluing them in permanently with something like Gorilla Glue. And you can see the Mangler there is made out of the same soft plastic as the other weapons in this line, but there's no warping on it whatsoever. A lot of the UNSC weapons had warping in them. So guys, there's the World of Halo Series 1 Brute Captain. If you don't have this figure, you need to get it. I haven't seen them on store shelves in months. There were 2 hanging on the pegs when I picked this one up, and that was back in January or February. I haven't seen them in a store since. So if you don't have this in your collection, you need to get one. Thanks for watching the video. Stay tuned. There's more reviews to come.